Well, hello again. Another subject for the yes or no treatment. This one is, should we demand free speech at universities? Whoa, what's this, you might ask? Isn't there free speech at universities? Well, apparently not. There have been a number of incidents recently where speakers with apparently offensive views that particular groups of people don't care for, have had their invitations withdrawn. And of course, that's created a bit of controversy. Not everybody wanted them withdrawn. So there's a whole notion here of we're not going to let you talk to us if you don't say what we want you to say, almost. I know that reveals a slight prejudice on my part, but it's a pretty interesting subject because there are arguments on both sides of this issue. It's related to a number of other current kind of ideas, the whole notion of a politically correct speech, the woke movement, the call-out culture, the whole notion that if people are offensive, if they're disrespectful, if they are bold enough to present us with repugnant ideas, well, we should fight back. We should resist them. We should even prevent them from having their presenting their ideas in a public forum. So, that's kind of what this is about. And of course, it's been something where there have been some really spectacular and noteworthy examples recently. I suppose the number one was the deplatforming of President Trump on both Twitter and Facebook because of his alleged sanctioning and inciting to riot those people who attacked the nation's capital. And in this particular case, it was the management teams of those two social media companies that took the step, but it's still the same principle. It wasn't a mob in this particular case. And we also had one a few years ago, a pretty interesting one, where Pope Benedict's invitation to speak at a very prestigious university in Rome, Sapienza, was withdrawn because an earlier speech of his in which he defended the church's treatment of Galileo. Oh, sometimes you can't make this up. In which Galileo's assertion that the Earth rotated around the sun was wrong. Oh well. In any case, there are high feelings on this subject, so perhaps we should investigate what some of them are. So first of all, let's look at the yes group. Yes, we should demand free speech. And by the way, as part of that demand, the government has taken the view that they want to stop this kind of activity and may even appoint a free speech czar. So it's a bit silly, I think, really, but nonetheless, that's how heated the argument has become. So what are some of the arguments in favor of demanding that there be free speech? In other words, that we stop these prohibitions. Well, to begin with, a university is supposed to be a place where you learn how to think. And in fact, the word education comes from a Latin verb educo, means to draw out. It doesn't mean to stuff in, it means to draw out. So what in an educational process you're being asked to do is to think for yourself, to draw your conclusions about things, to look at pros and cons, to think about the fact that there might be, as this video series advocates, two sides to every question. Now, anyone who takes the view that that's not a good idea, that there should be only one side to a question, is operating against the interests of the educational philosophy and process going on in a university, and therefore it has no place in a university. Next, I have to say it's personally offensive, in my view, for me being told what I can and cannot hear or see. It's the sort of thing that we really don't associate with free societies. It's more the kind of policy and behavior one expects in really authoritarian regimes like China and North Korea and Cuba and other places like that, where the government controls what's available on television and so forth. It doesn't seem all that much different from that kind of behavior. And I guess finally I have to say that deplatforming and prohibitions of this sort is really, when you think about it, intolerance of an extreme sort. And of course, it's very often intolerance that those who advocate deplatforming are seeking to support. So they're arguing in two different directions. You can't have it both ways. Well, those are really kind of the arguments. They're pretty simple for, in effect, demanding that there be free speech in universities. So what are some of the negatives? So what about those who say, no, we shouldn't have anyone demanding that we have free speech? We ought to be able to control what's going on in the university. It's up to us. It's our community. Why shouldn't we not only have a say, but why shouldn't we kind of, as it were, control the outside environment around us and what's being brought into the university to make an impression upon us? Well, to begin with, deplatforming is simply another form of protest, something which, for example, empowered the civil rights movement in America. Another argument for deplatforming or restricting free speech on campus is that for some people, for members of some groups, things said in the heat of speeches of the sort they want to stop can be very hurtful. They can cause emotional damage. And I suppose it's easy for those of us who aren't members of any such kind of downtrodden minority groups, be they groups of ethnicity, color, sexual preference, or anything else. It's easy for us to decry these restrictions, but I might feel otherwise if I was one of them. So it's a powerful argument. Then there was the famous dictum of Felix Frankfurter, the eminent American Supreme Court Justice, who often dealt with this whole subject of free speech. And his famous observation on the subject was that free speech does not include the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. And so he was really coming down on the side of there have to be some kind of restrictions. You can't let people say really anything they want under any circumstances. And then finally, unfettered free speech can at times be very damaging. For example, we're once again brought back to the harangues and tweets and comments of our previous president, who actually fired up a mob that wound up attacking the U.S. Capitol, and an unthinkable and an unforgivable event. The whole notion of those people in the social media companies restricting Donald Trump actually was a good thing, and thus we should be mindful of the fact that you can't really say anything you want at any time, and so there have to be some rules and there have to be some restrictions. Well, what's my take on this? I guess I'm pretty clearly a free speech advocate. I really resent anybody telling me what I can and can't listen to or read or watch or anything else. And as for the notion that someone might come to university and do something that, talk about something that was really damaging or hurtful or inciting violence, okay, we have rules about that. We must stop anyone really who says things that can result in real danger. Now, Trump did that. But simply talking about things that offend people or go against their long cherished belief, that doesn't make the cut. I'm reminded a bit of Nathaniel Hawthorne's famous American novel, The Scarlet Letter, in which a woman, Hester Prynne, has a baby out of wedlock and refuses to name the father, and is shunned, punished, demonized, and so forth by the community. She's shouted down, she's vilified, and she didn't deserve it, really. But she was doing something that was against the mores and customs and beliefs of the people in her community. So she really suffered for it to the point where her life was really in danger. Well, that's not on. So there it is. I guess my concerns about the canceling of free speech under circumstances where people find what's being said to them is offensive, I find that offensive. And I think really it's time for people in universities who can't quite cope with things that they don't agree with. It's time for them to grow up. There it is. I'm sure I'll have people who disagree with that one. But in any case, I hope you liked it. If so, do the usual: notify, comment, like, subscribe, and so forth. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.